5P with Lamondre is being presented by Root Global Impact. Root Global Impact is a multifaceted disability inclusion firm that amplifies your disability inclusion efforts and helps to establish you as an inclusion leader in your industry. To learn more about Root Global Impact, contact us at our website, rootglobal.com. That's RUH global.com. Typically on 5P with Lamondre, we use one of the SDGs as a guiding theme, but we're going to do something a little bit different today. And that's because we're going to focus on leadership. Leadership is something that is required in order for any of the SDGs to come to fruition. So today's focus is going to be on leadership. Let's get it.
Welcome to 5P with Lamondre, the podcast that's all about the 5 Ps. People, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. If you're looking to be encouraged, inspired, and challenged, then this is the podcast for you. Here's your host, Lamondre.
Welcome to 5P with Lamondre. I am your host, Lamondre Pugh, and I am so thrilled that you are listening to this podcast right now. As I said in the pre-roll, this is a very special edition of 5P with Lamondre because we're not focusing on any particular goal this time around, but we're focusing on something that it's going to take in order for any of the goals to be realized, and that's leadership. Now, before we get into all of that, though, I want to remind you that we have established a voicemail line. I really want to hear from you, so please give me a call at 803-470-2830. That's 803-470-2830, and I want to hear your questions. I want to hear your comments. I want to know what's on your mind. And who knows, we just may hear your question or comment on one of the future episodes of 5P with Lamondre. And you can also connect with 5P at our Twitter site or on our Facebook page at 5P Podcast. That's 5P Podcast. So I really do want to connect with you. I want to hear from you. I want to hear your voice and your thoughts and your ideas and your opinions. So please share them with me. Well, as I said, today our focus is on leadership. And I actually did this interview quite some time ago, and I'm going to play it for you. But it was an interview that had such an impact on me that I felt that it was important that this audience heard it, that you actually heard this interview. And this interview is with the best-selling author of the book, The Presidential Principles, How to Inspire Action and Create Lasting Impact. And his name is none other than Anton Gunn. So, as you listen to this interview, I really want you to hear the insights that Anton has to share and just glean from it and realize that it really is about you stepping up and being the leader in your community. Check it out.
There's an old adage that says anyone can make a difference, but everyone should try. And all of us want to have an impact. We all want to make a difference. Well, on today's show, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. Impact leadership, the power of the difference maker. My guest, Anton Gunn, is a nationally recognized leadership and healthcare reform expert. He's worked with healthcare organizations who want to advance patient care, increase productivity and quality outcomes by developing presidential leadership practices. He is the founder of the 937 Strategy Group, LLC, a coaching and consulting strategy firm that provides professional development services to public and private sector organizations. Previously, he served as a senior official in the Obama administration as the Director of External Affairs at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, where he advised President Obama and Secretary Kathleen Sebelius on public engagement strategies to introduce Main Street to the Affordable Care Act. Anton was also a 2004 resident fellow at the Institute on Politics at the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. And I know him to be a real hip-hop head.
Oh, Well, that's so wonderful you to say. I'm definitely a hip-hop head, and it's always great to talk to my friend Lamondre. Great to hear from you.
Man, it's good to have you here. Man, let's jump right into it. Impact leadership, the power of the difference maker. What is leadership in its purest form?
So this is, the one thing that I definitely like to start with. I believe that leadership is the most important word in the English language. Everything that we do rises and falls on leadership. If you think about any organization, any family, any unit has to have a leadership structure. And the effectiveness of that leadership separates organizations that succeed versus organizations that don't succeed. And so I believe that leadership is critical, that we all should spend some time developing ourselves as leaders. So whether we're leading ourselves, because the first principle is you have to lead yourself, and whether we're leading our families, leading our organizations, or leading in our communities, we all should be developing ourselves to give ourselves the capability to be effective in the role that we play in society.
Right. And I think that is an important distinction to make. It's about the role that you play in society. And one of the things that I read that you wrote is that leadership is influence. It's the ability for A to move B. Much of what we focus on is that purpose. Why are you here? What role are you here to play? And that leadership piece of it, developing those things, that's an important piece of the puzzle. Now, you have a very varied past. I met you when you were the executive director of the chief executive for an organization called Fair Share. And we were both fresh out of college during that time, and it was like whole new world. We were out there to change the world. And it was at that point that both of us, I believe, came into this thing with the concept of serving people. How did service get you to this point?
Well, that's a great thing to start talking about. That, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has a very famous quote that says, "Everyone can be great because everyone can serve." And when you understand that we all have a responsibility to use our gifts and talents to support people and to help people, that's how you make a difference. That's how you make a big difference. And so for me, when I started at Fair Share, when I started doing community work, is recognizing that God gave me some tools and some talents and some things that some people didn't have. And so my responsibility was to use those gifts and talents to help people and to be a servant. I mean, everyone should find a way to help people with what they need, and that's what servants do. And so that's how you have an impact in people's lives. Is the first step of having an impact is learning how to serve. But I also think that service is just the lowest level of what you should be doing as a leader, the lowest level. The second thing you should do beyond serving is you should be empowering people. And as we both learned, working in community work and trying to figure out how to empower people to live out their own God-given potential was really about helping people to obtain and develop the tools to live out their potential. A leader that empowers is a leader that gives people tools. So whether you craft those tools yourself, or whether you show them how to access those tools, or whether you give them the tools to make a difference in their own lives, that's what great leaders do, is that they not only serve, they also empower.
Right. And I love that juxtaposition of placing the concept of, if I'm leading someone, that means that I'm empowering them to succeed. I'm empowering them to accomplish. I'm empowering them to move forward and live in that purpose.
Yeah, man, the greatest leaders, if you just think throughout history, you think about, Dr. King, Jesus Christ, you think of anybody that would be deemed a leader, they not only served, they empowered people. They empowered people with the information, the tools, the resources, again, to live their purpose in life, to really figure out why are they here, what role they're supposed to play, what difference they're supposed to make, what good they're supposed to do, and who they're supposed to impact. And so the greatest leaders are the ones who figure out how to help people to understand that service and empowerment are critical to their own personal growth and development.
Right. Anton, how did you discover that? How did you discover that purpose? How did you discover that your role was to empower people through developing leaders?
Well, this is a very interesting question and a very long sorted experience that I have. And I'll say that in that way because I think for me, it really crystallized in 2000, October 2000. I was 27 years old, and some people know this story, others do not. My younger brother, my 22-year-old brother, was killed in a terrorist attack by suicide bombers who bombed his ship, the USS Cole, in Yemen in October of 2000.
Right.
And that was a devastating time in my life. And
of course,
it was at that point I felt like, there's no reason for me to try to do anything good because the people who are close to me were gone, and and there was nothing that I could do to change that. I felt very helpless, and so I just kind of wanted to give up on life, and I started doing some soul searching and really thinking about something that Les Brown said, that life will always knock you down, and boy did I feel knocked down when my brother was killed.
Sure.
But Les Brown also says if you get knocked down, try to fall on your back, because if you can look up, then you can get up. And that's literally something that just kind of stuck with me, that I'm supposed to get up and do something. And that something was doing my best to try to live like my brother lived. And my brother was a servant and empowered people. I mean, even as a 19-year-old, he would not go out to party with his friends, but if the next door neighbor hadn't been on a date with their spouse in like a year because they have young kids, my brother would volunteer to babysit. And so he would babysit the neighbors across the street, the neighbors down the block, to allow these young couples to go out and really, enjoy themselves. And so he served. He didn't mind serving. He didn't mind empowering people. And so for me, I wanted to try to be an example of how we all should live in the world the way my brother lived, and how I can be authentic as a leader. That's where it started for me.
Wow. So, and it's amazing because usually there are those events in people's lives where, when it becomes clear, when there is a point that they can point to and say, and this is when things became definitive. This is where when things came into view for me. Now, Anton, since then you have helped to get the first African American president of the United States elected. You have worked to push through or accomplish the biggest healthcare reform piece of legislation that the country has seen. Do you realize, or have you looked at the enormity of those accomplishments and what a difference those kinds of things has made in the lives of the people that you serve?
I think about it every day. I really do. I say all the time from the stage, I've lived a remarkable life. I've been able to experience so many unique things that are historical in nature and will be meaningful to every person who comes on this planet or in this country long after I'm gone. And that's actually the third principle of what I call impact leadership. The first is service, the second is empowerment, but this third principle is really legacy. And legacy is, it's a quote really that Dr. Miles Monroe said one day, that success without a successor is a failure.
Mm-hmm.
And so I believe that when you use your gifts and talents to leave an inheritance for people who will come along long after you're gone, then you move from just being successful to being significant.
Right.
And so my focus has really been to help people to understand how to live a significant life, how to be an impact leader, how to make that difference. And that's what I was able to do on healthcare reform and working for the first African-American president, is to really be significant. And there's nothing special about me other than I just made a commitment to have an impact on people's lives. And that commitment is defined by service, It's defined by empowerment, and it's defined by wanting to create a legacy that outlives my life.
Right. Well, I can tell you, my friend, even at this point in your life, and you've got a long way to go, but even at this point in your life, it has been remarkable to watch the trajectory that your career and your life has taken. And it's encouraging. It encourages me to think, man, I remember when we were fresh out of college and we were just trying to help people. We were just trying to help people, live their lives to the fullest, get a fair share. And now look at what you have been able to accomplish. So we have service, we have empowerment, and now we're at legacy. What's next?
Well, I think the thing that's next for me is, how do I provide the opportunity for every individual to live fully those principles? Coincidentally, those principles of service, empowerment, and legacy are the principles that some of our greatest presidents have embodied through their experiences. And so when I talk about teaching presidential leadership principles, it's because I have had the fortunate experience of having personal experiences with 4 American presidents. I've also been a history major most of my life, and I read a lot about history and the leaders in our country and what they've been able to do. And so for me, I want to teach these presidential leadership principles of how you can have an impact and be a difference maker that matters. And so I share this through my keynote speeches, through workshops, even writings. I do have some writing that's going to happen this year for me. I'm looking forward to producing my next book this year to share with the audiences who are interested in figuring out how they can grow themselves as an impact leader. Because, again, leadership is influence. Everything rises and falls on leadership. And the question is, what are you doing to advance your growth and development as a leader so you can serve more people, so you can empower more people, so you can leave a bigger legacy in this world community in a way that matters positively on every life that you touch? That's what's next.
Absolutely. And the title of your book, the one that's currently out there, is The Audacity of Leadership. Yes.
That's my very first book, and that was a labor of love. It took me 3 years to really kind of get that book together. And I wanted to share my experience as starting from where we started. I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm a hip-hop kid from Virginia. There was nothing really special about me other than I was passionate about hip-hop. And it turned into a nonstop ministry of social justice advocacy, leadership development, and professional growth in the healthcare space. And it all got birthed out of me just wanting to be a rapper. And so I tell this in a journey that I have the audacity to lead, and that every one of us needs to have the audacity to lead. We need to believe that we can be a transformational leader in this century, in this 21st century, that the world is in such a place, with all of the things that are going on domestically, internationally, in our communities, that we need leaders who can transform those environments, and not transform them and make them worse, but transform them and make them better.
Right.
And that's what having an impact is transforming things to make them better. And so that's my blueprint. Becoming a transformational leader in the 21st century is the audacity of leadership.
Right. And Anton, I think you said something that is so important, because so many people don't feel like they can have an impact. So many people don't even understand what their contribution could be and what it could mean to the world. So to even have the concept of, not only am I going to have an impact, but I'm going to lead, and it's going to be significant. I'm going to lead in such a way that it has an impact on people's lives, that I leave this world better than when I found it. That takes some chutzpah, first of all, but then it also takes a realization that you do have something to offer, because many people don't know what it is that they have to offer, or feel that what they have to offer is not significant enough. How do people overcome that?
Well, so this is such a important point. I'm so glad that you asked this. I like to tell people there's two things that all of us should figure out in life. There's two things. The first thing you need to figure out is you need to figure out what you're passionate about. Everybody is passionate about something. You might be passionate about children. You might be passionate about your family. Maybe you're passionate about helping people, or you're passionate about some issue. I don't know what the issue might be. You could be passionate about making sure people laugh every day. But you got to figure out what your passion is. And when you figure out what your passion is, your goal should be is to know more about your passion than anybody else. Mm-hmm. And so let's say your passion is about making sure that people are happy. So maybe that's learning to be a comedian, or maybe learning what health benefits result from laughter. And so do your research, understand your passion, understand it intimately. And the reason why you want to do that is because your passion is a thing that burns inside of you that'll never get burned out. It's the reason why you'll get up in the morning.
Right.
If you figure out what you're passionate about, you'll get up in the morning for it. That's the first thing you need to figure out. The second thing you need to figure out is what you're good at, because everybody is good at something. But you have to remember, the thing that you're passionate about may not be the thing that you're good at, and the thing that you're good at may not be what you're passionate about.
Right.
But the reason why you figure out what you're good at, because your good is your gifts and talents. This is what you know how to do. It comes easy to you. Some people, numbers in accounting may be easy for them, okay? Or it may be you can sing, or maybe you can write, or maybe you can teach. You know, you might be good at something. So figure out what you're good at, and don't just be good at it, become great at it. Because if you decide to become great at the thing that which you're good at, then you'll command a larger platform, a larger space, a larger salary. You'll command so many more things because you become great at that thing that you're good at. Right. And when you figure out what you're passionate about, and when you figure out what you're good at, you can put those two things together at some point in your life, and that will become your purpose.
Right. Right. And I think that one of the important pieces of that is, and it really is about what you're passionate about. It really is about what you're good at. You don't have to try and fit the mold of what someone else says. Oh, yeah, you should really do this because this is what we think you should do. It has to be something that makes you get up in the morning. It has to be something that has that creates that spark within you.
That's correct. You really got to really tune into yourself. And people love to project on other people what you should be doing, how you should be doing, and what you're good at or what you need to be doing. No. You need to decide what you're good at, what you're passionate about, because you got to live with this. I can't live your life and you can't live mine.
Right.
And so the only way you live your own life is to really tap into what you're passionate about.
Absolutely. Now, Anton, I know one of the things that you're passionate about, in addition to all of the great work that you've already done, is you love sharing this message with other people. You love being on stage and actually presenting these concepts of presidential leadership. What is that like, and where does that come from?
It's such a wonderful experience. I did, in 2017, I did 112 keynote speeches all around the nation and even outside of the country.
112?
Yes, 112.
Yeah.
And so the audience sizes ranged from as small as 25 and as large as 2,500. And so for me, this is really about teaching people how to live the greatest way possible as a leader. If you're in any role, whether you're a new leader or an emerging leader, or you're trying to figure out, what's my role on my team at work, can you learn the principles that make someone an impactful leader, that makes a difference in people's lives? And I believe that you can. And that came from, my life experience. I tell people all the time, my first encounter with the President of the United States happened when I was 17 years old, and that was George Herbert Walker Bush and his administration. Of course, when my brother was killed in a terrorist attack, I got a chance to meet President Bill Clinton. And then in the aftermath of the USS Cole and the war against Al-Qaeda is when I had my experiences with George W. Bush's administration. And then, of course, the 44th president of the United States, the one that I'm closest to and have the most experience with, is Barack Obama. And what I can tell you from all four of these men, they all have made an impact on our society that people are still dealing with today. I mean, like, for instance,
Right.
So many people in America take advantage of the Family Medical Leave Act. They take advantage of that. Well, that law was passed when Bill Clinton was president in 1992. A decision that he made in 92 or 93, I think it was, is still having benefits on people's families today, that they can take time off to be with their loved ones who are sick or when they've had a baby or something happens. That is really making a difference in people's lives long after he's gone from the office of president. That was two
Right.
presidents ago that Bill Clinton had this impact. So my thing is we all should be thinking about in our daily lives, in the organization in which we work, how can we have that kind of impact on people's lives?
Right. Right. And that's a major that's a major concept to even have. And here's the thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be that your impact is felt on the world stage. It could be that your impact is felt right in your neighborhood. It could be that your impact is felt right in that community in which you live, and you know that you can touch someone's life. I often think about the adage of the guy walking down the beach, and he sees this other man picking up starfish and throwing them back into the water, picking up starfish and throwing them back into the water one at a time. And there were thousands of starfish on this beach. And the guy walks up to him and he says, "Man, what are you doing? Throwing one back won't make a difference?" Guy picked up another and threw it in. He said, "Yes, but it made a difference to that one." And that's the thing. Have an impact. Do something to impact someone's life. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I tell that same story every single time. It's about making an impact for that one. And yes, you might be your neighborhood, it might be your community, but you know what? Sometimes you need to make an impact for the people who live under the same roof in which you live.
Right.
The people that you grew up with. So it doesn't have to be world-changing presidential impact like transforming the American healthcare system and providing health coverage to 20 million people. That is fantastic. But the question is, can you impact the lives that you touch, that you're in the closest proximity to? How do you live the presidential principles to make a difference in their lives? That's what we all should be striving for, striving to figure out how we can serve, how we can empower, how can we leave a legacy that will matter to that person? And sometimes it's more simple than we think it is.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it sure is. Anton, how can people get in contact with you? Because you have so many things going on and there's so much good information that you give. I want to make certain that anyone who wants to get in contact with you can and really benefit from the good stuff that you've got going on. So how can we get in contact with you?
Oh, that's a great point. So first and foremost, the home base for everything Anton Gunn is at antongunn.com. That's ANTONGUNN.com. You'll find out more about my speaking, my coaching, my training. My blog is there. You can read many of my writings that I've been focused on helping people to be a better leader and teaching them impact skills there. And, of course, I'm on many social media platforms. So whether you're on LinkedIn, whether you're on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, you can find me at Anton J. Gunn on all of those venues. And I do respond back. I don't have an assistant or someone who checks my messages for me. I respond to my messages, but because I do travel extensively and do lots of keynote speeches, sometimes it'll take me a couple of days to get back to you. But nonetheless, I would love to connect with you. And if there's any value that I can add to your organization, if you have an annual meeting or a conference or some event where you're looking for someone to teach your audience how to develop the presidential leadership principles for impact, you can sure reach out to me, and I would love to come and share a message with your organization and help you to become better leaders and to be difference makers in the lives that you touch.
And just so people will know, I've seen Anton present, and it's an amazing experience. So definitely reach out to him at AntonGunn.com. And Anton, where can people pick up your book?
So you can definitely pick it up at Amazon.com. I have a link on my website at AntonGunn.com that'll take you right to my Amazon page and allow you to purchase it right there. So you can definitely get it there.
Fantastic. Anton, thank you for taking the time to share with us. And we certainly do appreciate it. We certainly appreciate the service that you've given to this country and ultimately to this world. And we thank you for being willing to turn around and give some of that back so that we can learn how we can do the same thing. Thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you.
I so enjoyed that interview with Anton. He is absolutely an amazing person. He's an amazing leader. He has done so much for the country and honestly for the world. And I will tell you, his book, The Presidential Principles, How to Inspire Action and Create Lasting Impact, is a great read, and you can get it on Amazon. He's an Amazon bestseller. So it's really worth your while, and it's just in time for the holidays. So it will be a great gift to share with others. Well, that's about all the time that I have for this week. And just to remind you, I do have a voicemail line available for you. That telephone number is 803-470-2830. That's 803-470-2830. Or you can connect with me on Facebook or Twitter at 5P Podcast. That's 5P Podcast. And just so you will know also, I can come and speak for your organization. I just left Indianapolis last week with an organization. It was absolutely fantastic, sharing with them some ideas on inclusion and how we can elevate the conversation about inclusion. It was for Lily, and they are doing great work over there. So if you need a speaker, if you're looking for someone to come and share some concepts and some ideas about inclusion, look me up. Get in contact with me. You can email me at lamondre@ruglobal.com. That's lamondre@ruglobal, RUHglobal.com. And that is all the time that I have. I am Lamondre Pugh, reminding you that today is the perfect day to step up and be the leader that's needed. Be the change you want to see. Live big, live full, live authentic. God bless.